Greetings and welcome, or welcome back. Today's reading is going to be the conclusion of the Siren's Wail. As such, it's going to be a little longer than the other parts. There's some setup that is needed before getting into the meat of the section. As such, I hope you'll stay for the end. Tyler stood looking out the window at the fury of the storm. The fierce wind rattled the windows and shook the house. They'd lost power an hour before when lightning struck a transformer down the road. Where Tyler stood, the others lounged around the living room. Lisa was stretched out on the couch with her legs draped across James's lap. Ashley sat sideways in a chair, her back against one arm and her legs over the other. Ralph sat in another chair, looking at his tablet. Man, the storm is getting... Tyler staggered back from the window as the room filled with light from a stroke of lightning and the deafening roar of thunder. Ralph's nerveless fingers dropped the tablet into his lap. Lisa was almost tumbled to the floor as James lunged forward with a start. Ashley wound up on the floor, rolling out of her chair with shock. Ashley picked herself up and dusted herself off. Well, that was uncalled for. Lisa glared at James, who gave her a sheepish smile. Ralph, though, looked at Tyler's back. Gee, the power is out, the house is shaking, the windows are rattling, and lightning is dancing around our toes. He picked up his tablet and turned his attention to it. Care to tell us more about the storm, Captain Obvious? James jumped up, earning him another glare from Lisa, who wound up half on the floor this time. Come on, guys. We're all on edge right now. Let's not be assholes to each other, okay? He then reached to help Lisa up. Tyler swelled up and rolled forward onto his feet as he turned towards Ralph, his mouth open to say something, but he turned on his heel and stalked away. Anyone want anything from the kitchen? Lisa cleared her throat to get Tyler's attention. She smiled at him and signed, I'd like some tea if you wouldn't mind. She deliberately stretched her legs out across the end of the couch where James was trying to sit once more. James sighed and settled on the floor instead, leaning his back against the couch. Yeah, sure thing, Lisa. Tyler disappeared into the kitchen. Lisa cleared her throat and shot her approving look towards Ralph when he looked up at her. What was that all about, Ralph? Lisa's hands flashed furiously. He was just trying to deal with the stress in his own way. The weather's bad enough without you riding him, too. All right, Lisa, don't you start in on me. Ralph looked annoyed as he looked over the top of his tablet. I'm sorry I gave him a hard time. I'll apologize to him and tell him so when he comes back. Just look like you actually mean... Lisa began, but her eyes widened and her hands snapped to her mouth. A low roar shook the house. Boards creaked and the air felt as if it were being drawn out. The others were slower in sensing the danger. Glances were exchanged as the roar grew louder. Then eyes went wide and someone shouted, Oh shit! Everyone was on their feet, but where Ashley, Tyler, James, and Ralph started dashing for the hall, Lisa darted over to a corner and snatched up an acoustic guitar from its stand. Lisa, what are you doing? James motioned for her to join them. Lisa's expression was etched with sharp lines of determination as she turned to face the direction of the roar. She struck the first chord just as a series of loud cracks came from the roof. It lifted slightly and the air rushed out. Lisa struck another chord, and this time the guitar's tone cut through the roar. Her fingers raced through a melody that sliced through the wind. Her voice cracked like a whip as it joined the thrum of the guitar. From the hallway, the others came stumbling back into the room. Their eyes were glazed and their expressions blank. Drawn by the enchanting quality of her voice and song, they ignored the coming danger and shuffled back. As she played, as she sang, wings unfurled from Lisa's back and a feathered tail fanned out behind her from under her skirt. The wings were long, broad at the base where they met her shoulders and tapering to narrow points. The feathers of both were dark bronze colored. The tips of the wings' feathers were triangular with black edges. The tail feathers were banded with stripes of brassy color. She arched her wings up at the bend, folding them into a V formation, like a falcon going into a stoop. It was then that the roof flew away in splintering pieces, leaving Lisa staring up at the oncoming tornado. Her legs changed into the scaled legs of a bird, and her taloned feet dug into the floor. Still, she played. The guitar wailed, and her voice was sharp and insistent as she sang. Both were clearly heard over the deafening roar of the wind. Through the wind and flying debris, the others staggered toward her. There was no running away from the call of her song. Even when a lamp grazed Ashley's head, she stumbled on. A broken board slammed into James's side, sending him to the floor, but he stood up and kept coming towards Lisa. Her call affected the tornado, too. Where the humans were enchanted and drawn to her, the tornado frayed around the edges. It unraveled like a rope coming apart, strand by strand. Her playing became more strident, her voice more insistent. The tornado gave a final shudder and flew apart, taking all the wind and fury of the storm with it. The rain still fell, cold and heavy, but the storm was gone. Lisa stopped singing and folded her wings against her back where they faded away. Her tail disappeared, and her legs lost their scales and talons, becoming quite human once more. She ceased playing and let the guitar fall from her fingers. Ralph recovered first. He rose from the debris and backed away. He stared at Lisa, eyes wide and mouth agape. Ashley gave her head a shake. She staggered and brought a hand up to her bleeding temple. She mouthed the words. "What the hell just happened?" James crumpled to the floor holding his side and gasped. He looked up at Lisa and removed his hands from his side so he could sign. "Lisa, what just happened? What did you do?" Lisa stared at him and fidgeted. When her hands came up, she signed, "I'm a siren. I played down the wind before the tornado killed us." No one laughed or gave her a look of scorn. How could they, with what they'd seen? Tyler broke the gravity of the moment with a question. "Shouldn't you have a tail like a fish or something?" His voice sounded dull and flat in their ears after the roaring of the tornado. Lisa glanced at Tyler and wrinkled her nose. "I'm a siren, not a mermaid. We live on rocky cliffs and lure ships to their doom, not flop around in the sea." Everyone but James gave a nervous laugh. He tried, but wound up grimacing and holding his side again. Ashley reverted to using her hands to communicate, not wanting to shout. "Do your voice and playing always cause that kind of effect?" Lisa turned her wrinkled nose to Ashley now, but after a second, she sighed and shook her head. "No, though I will always enchant and lure people to me when I speak or play. The level of effect depends on a lot of things. You should know that after our lessons. It's why I wanted to learn to sign. I don't want everyone going all glaze-eyed and slack-jawed because I make a sound." The small group of musicians looked back and forth at each other. Ashley again spoke what they were all thinking. "I think we need to get this girl her own guitar. We can work out the rest later." "You know what I think?" Ralph's voice was loud and caused everyone to jump. "I think we're going to need good headsets to tune out her voice and playing." He paused as everyone's attention turned to him. "I also think we're going to need to add a second melody guitar to all our songs. Finally, I think we're all going to need new bank accounts for all the money we're going to make." Lisa stared at him in shock, at least until James groaned and fell over against her leg. Concern replaced shock, and she stooped to fold her arms protectively around him. Concern now flickered across Ralph's face as he looked at James and then at the wobbling Ashley. "First, though, let's get out of the rain and get James and Ash to a hospital. We can work out the rest when we're dry." And that's the end of the Siren's Wail. Remember, the story in its entirety can be found online in UND's Floodwall magazine, Volume 2, Issue 11. I hope you enjoyed the story, and I'll be back next week with something else. I hope you'll tune in.